On today's episode of the PA Startup Podcast, we have ways to stand out on your rotations coming up next. All right, so we have talked on a previous episode, which I will link above, the pet peeves of preceptors. And we got to talking about it, and it was maybe came off as harsh. They were the things that you should avoid doing to make a good impression. But we wanted to go a step further and talk about the things that really did stand out about students and stuff on your rotations. So as you go out onto your rotations, what are things that you can do to stand out, to differentiate yourself from the other people that are around? Because we all talk, we all know people in medicine, and if I can get a personal recommendation from someone I trust that, hey, this student was solid, this student was good, I'm going to take that over any cover letter, any resume, or anything. So, yeah. So what do you think?
I would say rule number one, no matter what your rotation is, because obviously when you want to stand out, it's probably for something that you maybe want to work in. Right? I mean, that's what we're saying. I want to stand out. I think what's going to set you up to succeed the most is do your best to stand out in all of them.
Yeah.
And by that, don't go into a rotation and say, yeah, I'm not interested in doing this.
Right.
Right? Go into it wanting to learn. Go into it with an open mind. Believe me, OB/GYN doctors know that half of their students, 3/4, 90%,
maybe
don't
more.
want anything to do with it.
Right.
But to come in and say, hey, I just want to learn. I want to have an open mind, because you get asked that question. As students, you will get asked it every rotation. So what do you want to do? The correct answer is, you know what? I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at this, and this, but I'm not sure. What I've always stood out in the wrong way is to come in and say, oh, I'm thinking about doing
orthopedic surgery, and you're on your OB/GYN rotation. Well, then it's like already starting off. To come in and a student to have an open mind, because believe me, I want you to like what I do. Right.
I want you to like CT surgery.
Yeah.
I want you to like
this is
whatever.
what I picked.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
So
why wouldn't you want to do this?
And I want to invest in you as much as possible. So come in with an open mind. If you come in and are ready to learn, we're starting off on the right foot.
And even the stuff that you don't care about. I didn't care about psych. I was like, psych is weird. It seems like there's like 5 different classes of drugs, and everyone's crazy or depressed, and you're just throwing pills down their throat. I don't care. There's always things you can learn, because of my psych rotation, I went into it with that mindset of there's obviously stuff I could learn from this. Then now I see it in our patients. I was like, it seems like you're struggling. Like, you can always learn something regardless. And Garner's right. You should never say like, yeah, I could never see myself working in this field. Like, that might be true, but for you to come in and say like, look, I don't really know much about this, but I'm ready to learn.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that with students that come in with like a mindset of, I just want to learn something, even if and I actually respect students that come in and say, you know what, I don't necessarily see myself doing this specific job, but you guys do a lot of things.
Right.
And I want to know about them so that in my family practice job, I can apply it. And I'm like, you know what? Great.
Right. You could tailor the training on that rotation. So someone comes through CT surgery, they say, I would never do this. It's boring. It's the same surgery over and over again, but I want to work in family practice and do a lot of procedures. Okay, well then let's work on suturing. Let's work on knot tying. Let's work on those things. I'm not going to bore you with the nitty gritty.
I remember doing my ER rotation and walking in and knowing I was going to do CT surgery. And they, hey, what are you thinking? I actually like the ER. It's not that I would never do it.
Sure.
I just knew kind of where I wanted to go. And said, I like the ER. I actually could see myself down the road doing it. Right now, I'm looking at surgery jobs. I would love to do all of your lacerations.
Yeah.
To them was like, thank God.
Yeah.
Because certain people just are sick of doing it.
Right.
But it was an honesty thing. But at the same time, it wasn't like, yeah, I hate the ER.
Yeah.
It's how you
I'm never going to work
yourself.
here.
Present yourself in a way that is open, an open book, ready to learn.
Right.
Because if you can do that, even if you're not totally interested in the job, your preceptor is going to then tailor their training to you in a way that's going to benefit both of you.
Right. It's almost a reflection of your character.
Yeah.
If you're like, you know what, I don't know anything about this, but teach me. Like, great. But if you come in and you're like, yeah, I'm not ever going to do this, I'm like, oh, this guy's got the wrong, or
Yeah.
girl, it's got the wrong idea. Kind of to dovetail off of what you said, even if you're not interested in that specialty, still be prepared for whatever it is. If you have, if you're in an office setting and you have a list of clinic patients the next day, browse through what they're coming in for, and if there's something that you don't know about, or a lot of things you don't know about, read about one of them and come up with a couple questions or come up with a couple things for your knowledge to stay engaged, stuff like that. And if the preceptor has sent you home with, hey, you should work on this tonight. For us, it's a lot of times it's you should take these sutures home and just tie knots. If you come back the next day and you're like, hey, I was practicing and I had trouble with this, or hey, I saw this patient's coming in with this condition, help me understand this. I don't really know much about it. You took the initiative to do that. That's incredible.
We'd actually, and maybe this will help you guys out, we'll link some books below. For surgery, we talk about, and we're not sponsored by any of these, but Surgical Recall is one. We'll link some sources below for different types of books where if you're going to go into, and I remember in general surgery, you're going to go in and do an appendectomy. Right? There's certain things that you should know.
Right.
And like the fact that you went and looked at them before the surgery, the surgeon's like, okay, this kid knows, or at least
has shown an interest.
Yeah. Even if you don't want to do it, shown an interest, because that word of mouth gets back to everyone else that, okay, they're trying or not trying, right?
Right.
I loved following behind the students that didn't try.
Right.
Because it made me look really good. But we'll put some sources in the or in the section below, and you guys, if it helps you as students, great. If not, don't worry about it. But coming prepared and like researching some things to set yourself up to at least have an intelligent conversation or to be able to answer a question stands out to me.
Right. And it's not to tie back to the pet peeves of preceptors. It's your job of reading isn't to then vomit up every bit of information you retain. It's to have a frame of reference.
Yep, exactly.
Because the Surgical Recall book that you mentioned, another great book is The Current Diagnosis and Treatment. I don't know if you use that. The surgical version is great because it talks about pre-op care, post-op care, which applies to everything. There's also current medical diagnosis and treatment, and that's a lot of medical issues, not surgical. But you can get lost in the weeds. If you start reading article after article on the internet, or you go back to your textbook, you can get so lost. But these books are a little bit more practical. And so those are, that's great. And you don't have to vomit up everything.
No.
You just have to say, if you're asked a question, be like, oh, okay, yeah. And you can respond and show that you actually took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Another thing is to not lose sight of what is going to be on the PANCE exam and what you need to know for your rotation. So, and it is hard. It is hard to juggle. I got to study for the PANCE exam. I got to study for my end of rotation exam. I have to then do the homework that my preceptor gave me. So to be able to differentiate those and find, okay, how am I going to do all of those at the same time? It's a tough balance, but don't forget about your preceptors who are leaving you reviews to make a good impression, but also don't forget that at the end of the day, you got to take your PANCE exam and your end of rotation exams.
Yeah. One other thing that I think about with students is when I give an instruction or a point. For example, for us, we talk about pulling chest tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when we pull chest tubes, we need Vaseline gauze, tape, and a blade to cut the stitch.
Right.
Okay? That's simple. I mean, it's not something crazy. That's not a board's question. It's not on the pants.
Right.
It's not anything.
No.
And like you talk about, it doesn't apply to that at all. But on your rotation, this is applicable every day.
Right.
So when we say, hey, we're gonna go pull chest tubes, you may not remember it the first time. I remember like trying to memorize so much stuff, but I've seen it once or twice. Okay, so the next day I know that these 3 patients need their chest tubes pulled or are probably going to. So I'm gonna get that stuff ready. You know, usually as a student, you're usually there maybe early to pre-round. You're maybe there just to do some stuff, or as your preceptor's doing something different, you can prepare some stuff. So go get it ready. Have it ready to go. Mm-hmm. And you know what? As a preceptor, all of a sudden I'm like, hey, man, you did all the work. Like,
why don't you pull
the tube?
Yeah.
Right? As simple as it is. As a PA, as a practicing CT surgery PA, that's nothing to us to pull the tubes. But The first time I did it, I wasn't good at it. So
Right.
you need some practice. And as the PA student, I don't know sometimes if I want you to do it.
Right.
But if you put that effort in, hey, good for you, right? Like it didn't affect me at all. You have the supplies, and if I decided we're not going to pull the tube, no harm done. Put it back.
Or either put it back or just leave it for
there
tomorrow.
for the next day.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are things that I think stand out to me when I see a student that's like aware of, hey, he told me this yesterday,
right.
and I'm not going to bug him. I'm just going
We're just
to
gonna
do it. And it's something that like I said, if I'm wrong, hey,
Yep.
sorry.
trying to be prepared.
Doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything crazy, but thanks for trying. Like that was awesome.
Good for you.
Clearly, you're aware enough.
Right.
You're paying attention that you knew that needed to maybe happen.
Right.
And those are the people that stand out to me versus like me constantly telling, hey, go get this. Go
Yeah.
do that.
What do you think
Go
we should do
this."
next? Yeah, always be anticipating what could the next step be.
Yeah.
And honestly, for hospital medicine, the goal is how do we get them home?
Yeah.
Like, what do we need to do to get them home? And it might be a 17-step process, but okay, what's the next step? So if you're looking forward to that and you're like, okay, I bet tubes are going to come out. You get the stuff ready. That's a great show of initiative. That's actually probably the best personal reference I ever got was for one of our coworkers. I said, what would you say about this person? I asked one of her preceptors, and they said, you know what? I told her stuff one time. Didn't matter what it was. I told her once. She never forgot it. She always made sure to do it. And it was little stuff like we cut the stitches this long. Never once failed. Like that's how long they are. To pull chest tubes, this is what we need. The next day, everything was ready. And she's like, she would try to beat me to stuff, not in a flashy way, not in a, hey, just so you know, I took care of this for you. Yeah, it wasn't ever to like get her any sort of additional notice. It was like, oh, I already got that stuff for you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. So that was honestly a big contributor to her getting hired was that review. One, I think, subtle thing that people can do to really stand out is to kind of just observe the situation, like the dynamic of the practice, which is you might have come from a big academic teaching hospital, but if you go to a small town clinic, it's going to be very different. And so to come in and be like, this is how we do it over here, like that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad they do it that way. But your first goal really needs to be like, how did they do it? How did they do things? And how's the flow of the day go? Who interacts with who? Like just kind of drink it in at first before you start volunteering. Well, it's funny you do it that way because over here they do it this way. Like if you can kind of just fit in with their culture, and even if you disagree with it, just kind of go with the flow. That is so much better for us as preceptors.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, this person's pretty laid back. They're pretty easygoing. That's a good.
So
good
my
thing.
rule of thumb, and so your rotations, I believe, in school are 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Mine-
They were routinely 4. We had one that was 6.
So mine were all 6.
Oh,
Which was beneficial in the sense this is in my schooling, my rule of thumb was that first whole week was pump the brakes and just observe. Like answer questions when asked, but like figure the dynamic out.
Right.
Almost like maybe the first 2 weeks because I had 4 more weeks after that
right.
to do or maybe execute some goals that I wanted to do. So like my elective rotations, like 2 weeks of observing, okay, why, want to learn more about this and this and this. So I know that these people are those types of preceptors I need to talk to, and these people weren't.
Right.
4 weeks, maybe it's the first week where you kind of sit back and just learn.
Right.
And then you jump in.
Right.
Right.
Your job is to be educated.
Yeah.
It's not to change their practice. It's not to share all the wealth of knowledge that you've gained because they're established already. So, yeah, you kind of come in, check things out, and then you can say, okay, how do I need to move forward?
Yeah.
And that's huge because if we're constantly fighting, it's really hard. But if you fit in, then you were like, the person was great.
Yep.
It's amazing.
When we have students, we're pretty good about sending people home at a decent time. I understand you have family, you have this, that. You're going to be on certain rotations with fellows, residents who are not that way because they're not treated that way. Be ready to put in some work.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing that be okay with it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
The PA school is not fun. sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing general surgery rotations at the VA and working, it sounds terrible, and it was, but 12-hour days,
Yeah.
5, 6, and if they made the weekend that I was on as a student,
Right.
7 days in a row.
Yeah.
Be there at 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
going home at 5, 6 at night.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to leave until I'm instructed to. Not that I was asking to stay. It wasn't like, hey, can I stick around and do this? It was like, I'm going to wait until I'm excused to go home.
Right.
And that is a big difference versus, hey, I have this thing to do.
Hey, can I get out of here?
Hey, can I get out of here early today?
Right.
Hey, I got, and we see it all the time. And usually they don't have something to do. I mean, but I get it. It's crappy.
Yeah.
You're going to have rotations like that.
Right.
But there is something about, at least in my mind, I got references from all those people because they were like, this person is willing to put it in, put in the work.
Yep.
Even if it sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's going to suck. But if you guys can put your head down, you can do anything for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however
It's gonna be
long
hard.
your rotations
It's gonna be hard,
are.
but I mean the whole process is hard.
But
so
the outcome is so beneficial.
yeah.
It is so much, and honestly, it's a personal thing to walk out and be like, you know what?
I gave it my all.
I gave everything to that rotation because I had classmates that their surgery rotation was nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I learned so much, and at the same time, I knew that I could do X, Y, and Z. So-and-so couldn't because they didn't have the opportunity to stay at till midnight and do some crazy surgery.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid. Don't put yourself into this, force yourself to be there.
Right.
But it was one of those things where waiting till you were allowed to leave or making sure they knew you were engaged enough that
I'm in it till you tell me to go home.
Yep.
I'm not gonna fight
And when
it.
you tell me to go home, I am out of here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Going home.
Yeah, there's a fine line between, so you don't want to ask to leave early because that's annoying. Like if you're constantly like, yeah, I got this thing and I got to go do this, and every day I'm letting you out early. Like, okay, you're not committed. And then the opposite is also true, which is like, hey, we're going to do some office stuff. You should get out of here. No, I want to stay and see it all. Okay, I don't really want you to stay here because I got to concentrate on the office stuff. It's boring. Go home.
Yeah.
So find a kind of a balance. Surgery rotations are like that though. Mine was 12, 13-hour days too. And let me just paint this picture appropriately. It was so bad I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy because I was like, I hate the hospital and I hate surgery. I don't even think I ever want to do it. And here I am, 14 years later.
I think what it boils down to for students is maybe a simple few things, be ready for the long haul, right? Come prepared, be humble, be okay with not knowing, but dedicated to learning what you don't know. Those are all things that as a preceptor, we love.
Yeah.
Right? If that student comes in and does those things, the rotation's going to be smooth. You're going to do great. You're going to learn a lot more than people that don't do those things because honestly, I don't want to teach people that aren't ready to learn.
Right. All right. Well, I think these are all good.
Yeah.
Good.
You guys are going to crush rotations.
You're going to crush rotations.
Crush them.
The other thing you can crush is the subscribe button right there. Just hit that button, hit that bell. Definitely give us a like. But let us know what are some other things that you found are helpful to stand out on rotations. What are other things that might be impressive to a preceptor?
Or questions. If you have another question,
absolutely.
You're going into a certain rotation. Curious.
Say, hey, what are the things I need to do to prepare for this one?
Yeah. Obviously, we're in CT surgery. But we've been through all the rotations.
We have.
So
believe it or not,
I know what not to do.
Is that speaking from experience?
In a lot of things. I know how to get through an OBGYN rotation when you don't want to. So leave questions.
Yep.
We're happy to respond.
Right.
Shoot us an email or something.
Yep. Hit us up on the website. There's a contact page. We're easy to get a hold of. So, and we're more than happy to help because we want you to succeed. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're taking time to do this is to help you succeed. And there's just not a ton of resources out there for students. So, we're an open book. So we'd love to help you. Shoot us an email. We'll get back to you. Leave a comment. Tell people about the podcast. Tell people about the YouTube channel. And we'll catch you on the next episode. All right.
Thanks, guys.